Welcome, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Terry Edwin.
Hi.
Ariandis.
Hey, everybody.
Maven.
Hey, y'all.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
And today we will be running the second part of our Mordor review. We'll be heading into Dor Amarth. And I don't know about you, but I always, whenever I try to say that, I'm trying to make sure that I don't accidentally say Dol Amroth instead.
I don't actually have that problem because they look nothing alike.
Okay. Yes.
Given the amount of time I spent in Dol Amroth, I am never confused when it comes to Dor Amarth, which is considerably less laggy than the Udun Foothold.
Yes. Well, yes, but considering that you've recently gotten a machine that is so much better that anything will be less laggy.
This is true.
But we'll get to that later. Let's begin with game news. And our first bit of news is that we have round 3 of the Bowler build. And in this case, it looks like that they've made a number of tweaks. Now, what's this Champion Legacy?
I don't know. I didn't actually look at the batch notes.
Oh, Imbued Legacy's strike skill power cost has been adjusted above tier 59, so it continues to improve.
That seems super not important.
Okay. It sounds like one that you don't use.
Wait, what is it?
Strike skill power cost.
Strike skill power. Oh, so so your strike skills use less power. Yeah, this is actually, this legacy I probably do have slotted because it's one of the reasons why I never have power issues.
Ah, okay. So apparently it wasn't scaling very well above a certain
I guess
level.
not.
But some of the nice things...
clothing and armor appearances are broken. That's awesome.
Oh, that's in the known issues area?
Uh-huh.
Oh, one thing is that there were a couple of tweaks on festivals, because in summer festivals, they have finally gotten around, now that summer festival's over, they made it easier to attack heat waves.
That'll be useful next year.
Oh, well, that'll be super useful next year.
And
they haven't stopped binding to account cosmetic stuff that you get from festivals, which still annoys me.
Yeah.
Oh, they should do that.
Yeah. And the other one is belated fixes to festival, is that on Baggins' birthday, that the story quests will now all be available continuously rather than having the random bit that they've had in the past.
Oh.
Of course, if you've never done it, then maybe you don't care.
Well, I
nice that they did it after Baggins' birthday.
Yes.
It's like yeah, it's nice of them to do that now that it's over with.
Yes. Yes. I know, that's sort of a bit of a problem. Okay, could you have done that a few weeks earlier?
Well, better late than never, I guess.
I suppose so.
Reputation panel. Factions displayed are now ordered from newest to oldest. This is nice.
Now, what's their definition of newest to oldest? Do you mean from when
probably the newest that you start to the oldest? Or the one that you most recently increased?
The most recent ones are on top. Oh, that's right, because before it looked like it was oldest and newest, and that was so annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, that would make it a whole lot easier, since the ones you're really working on are probably going to be near the top then. All right, I think I could live with that.
Well, it's good to see. We'll be talking about this a little bit later, but it looks like the new 6-mana build has been adjusted. Yay! Adjust difficulty balance and fix various mechanics. Let's hope they fix some of the mechanics we're going to be talking about later.
Yeah. All right, and it's apparently Udun, captains of Mornour Lookout. Captain Shartu should appear more reliably.
Yeah, I know that one really well. because it's one of the quests, and you go do everything else, and now it's time to go find the boss, and he's not there. And I thought I was crazy because everybody was going, "Oh yeah, he's usually right there." I'm like, no. So I'm glad to know that actually I was right, that he doesn't always show up. So yay, they're going to appear more reliably, which also doesn't necessarily mean he's still always going to be there. But okay.
Let's just note about the Wildemore endgame.
Yeah, I noticed that. All
Yeah.
quests will be available as choices all the time. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
that would be a great
Is
relief
that
for some people.
the faction that you can't get until you finish like all of the other storyline?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Isn't that the Survivors of Wildemore, all the dailies, right?
Yeah, those are dailies where you have the random ones like
Yeah.
involved.
That'll be nice.
And the other thing that we notice is in the Farmer's Bane, the wolf should always be available to advance this quest. Oh boy, finding that wolf has always been a pain on that quest.
I am amused by one of the notes under PvMP. High elves can now use the back doors of keeps.
Yeah.
Sans and I talked about that. It's like, dang, we missed our chance. We should have got in as wargs back when they couldn't do that.
I know.
Boy, we could have got some easy
that
kills.
was a thing.
Well, it hasn't been released yet, actually, right?
I know.
That's true.
That's true.
So what, they finally gave the High Elves backdoor security clearance?
Yes.
They're about to
Yeah.
give the High Elves
They
backdoor
don't
security
trust
clearance.
the Noldor all that much, apparently.
Actually, if this hasn't gone live, does that mean high elves cannot currently use backdoors and keeps?
That's what it sounds like.
Sounds
My
like
High
it.
Elf has not visited the moors yet.
I'm not
My
planning
I
on
love this.
visiting the wars with a
Might
high
need
elf,
to.
but I'm actually thinking of creeping around. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about that later. Not when
This
we're
is
on
also
here.
interesting. Of special note, bring a full fellowship with you when you enter Dungeons of Nerband, a place of fire and anguish.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Make sure you have a
Not
healer.
even joking.
At least one healer. Maybe two.
Full fellowship and like 3 healers.
That would probably be good.
That's right. A tank, DPS, and the rest healers.
That bad.
Yeah.
Well, half that bad.
By the way, I'm not testing the new mechanics.
Of course.
All right. Then, anything else you wish to add before we head into the beacon?
But it now has a map.
Oh, wait. The good news is the Scourge Slayer. Remember last week, or was it last week or the week before, where we said, that our raid lead was saying, gee, you kill the Scourges and then you get like a Twinkie as your reward.
Oh, yeah.
So they said that they've updated the loot, which contains more loot than a normal box. Of course, it may just be more Twinkies. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But that's still
Better than
exciting.
one Twinkie. Lots of Twinkies.
All the Twinkies.
We heard that you were.
It's called a fat spoils box. That sounds like a lot of Twinkies, doesn't it?
We thought they were going to add some peppermint patties with it.
Ooh, that's worth doing. Yeah. Anyway.
That
okay,
just
so
means we're
that's all
going to
I
have
had.
to kill a bunch of Scourges and find out.
Yes, I suppose that is going to be the case. Let's head into the beacon then, and this week we will first look at our weekly comment, and the question is, who doesn't like pumpkins?
It depends on what they mean by liking pumpkins. Because I know plenty of people who don't like pumpkins.
Yeah, that is a rather strange question, since I know one person who once gave a speech talking about the thing that drives her crazy about October is the inundation of pumpkin products all at the same time.
Yeah, pumpkin everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or pumpkin spice everything, which is not the same thing necessarily as pumpkin.
Right, but it's related enough. At least related enough in somebody's mind to have given it the name. And I'm trying to think, do they mean person in LOTRO, person in Middle Earth, person period, or what?
I bet Lotho doesn't like pumpkins.
Oh, Lotho. Hmm.
Probably so.
He seems like that kind of guy. I mean, he's not really your fine, upstanding hobbit, so he probably doesn't like pumpkins.
All right. I suppose that's a possibility. So let's then head into the fan site news. And I noticed that they noted that last week we celebrated Great Pants.
Yes, because we did.
Yep.
They were awesome pants.
Very, very nice pants.
And MMO Reporter celebrated 300 episodes.
Awesome. Congrats to them.
Yee. And our screenshot of the week shows Mornithel, who realizes he might be in the wrong place in the screenshot.
Which is a gross understatement, but
Yes, because that does not look like a nice place to be when you got the Eye of Sauron appearing there.
That is really a great shot, though.
It's a great shot.
Yeah.
Definitely the wrong place to be hanging out.
Definitely.
You look at that shot and you're going, yeah, I probably, if I wasn't stunned, I would definitely totally be running away, but what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But speaking of pumpkins, you missed under Community Spotlights, the Minstrel Guild of Bree is going to be presenting the Pumpkin Jam Fest next Saturday.
Ooh.
It says click here for details, and I clicked here and I'm waiting for details.
You're waiting for details.
Also, the Purple Pipeweed Parlor Band which I just love because alliteration.
That's a name.
Purple Pipeweed Parlor Band is preparing for their October Supernatural tour.
Yeah, I was thinking that group should be a pickup band.
But
Well, yeah, I mean, we need another P in there.
Minstrel Guild of Bree is Brandywine. And Purple Pipeweed Parlor Band is Brandywine, Crick Hollow, and Laurelin.
They're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering that you've got one of them is a EU server.
Well, that just means that they're serving
People from both sides of the ocean.
Both sides of the ocean. That's right.
Yep. All right. So therefore they have 3 events, and of course the one at Laurelin is first because you have the one Laurelin at 3 p.m. and then you have the one in Crick Hollow at 5 p.m. and then the one at Brandywine at 7 p.m. But in all sorts of places all over. Boy, they travel around quite a bit. All right. On the 1st, on the 10th, on the 5th, they have a lot of performances. Then let's see, what is on sale? Anything useful?
Not really.
Not really.
Sample of the week is super useful. It's a simple rally horn with a coupon code Fellowship.
Yay!
That's great. 20% off stat tomes, regeneration food, run speed boosts, and attack damage boosts. And the Buried Treasure event is going through October 4th.
All right. Then let's head into our LOTRO news, which is brought to us by the Abbess of Mordath.
Ugh.
Well, I figured if we were going to talk about Dora Marth, we should have the show be sponsored by one of the locations in Dora Marth. And I remember that the Abyss of Mordath was extremely creepy. So there you go.
That works.
Extremely creepy is, I think, something on the level of an understatement, but yeah.
Yep.
So therefore, let's begin with the landscape of
Do we need
Dora
to give a
Marth.
spoilers alert or anything?
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert.
I just
Yeah.
thought I'd ask.
Yes, we will have various spoilers all throughout here. We will later on be discussing various quests that you could be going on. So therefore, if you don't want to hear anything that has anything to do with this zone, you could probably skip forward about 40 minutes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The Pine Leaf Countdown begins.
All right, now let's begin with the landscape, which is what I start where you enter what I really call the Doom fold, because A is folded and B, you got Mountain Doom in the middle of the place. And
at one end is Barad-dûr.
yeah, right.
Well,
you can,
what's left of Barad-dûr, I should say. 'Cause,
what's
like,
left
the top
there?
blew off of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the rest of Barad-dûr can be found kind of all over the landscape.
Right,
You
and
can find
also
the top too. You just can't really go inside it.
And also, before Mount Doom blew up, there's like lava streams which weren't there before. Mount Doom kind of like erupted as part of everything falling. So that's why now, and it did used to be like that. So now you've got these lava streams reaching into the barren plateau or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's not a good place to dip your toes.
Unless you want a really fast trip back to the res circle.
Yeah.
Right, Sanswinda?
Right.
Right?
That really pretty, beautifully colored lava is good for one fast trip to the res circle. Every time you
Yes.
dip your toes in it.
And I should note that sometimes if you get even close to it, you'll see your morale going, yeet, 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 yeet.
Well, you get set on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I haven't tested this, but it feels like it hurts kind of like the Waters of Florica when you get to a higher level, where it will kill you, and it will kill you pretty fast, but it's not insta-death if you're just kind of close to it. Except it's the opposite, because instead of with cold, it's killing you with fire.
Instead of cold, it's going with fire. Boy, they just love those extremes.
I wonder if it takes away a cold debuff. Like, if you were running Icy Crevasse, and you were near it, would it remove the cold debuff?
Sounds like
Probably
an
not.
experiment to me.
It
I
should.
think you'll be blinded by the combination of the water and the fire all mixing together, turning into steam and scalding you and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
And you meet the red circle again, most likely. Yeah.
Yes.
But it would still be an interesting experiment.
That would
Yeah.
almost be worth testing if skirmishes weren't so stupidly difficult now.
My hunter could go with you, and then I can build a campfire too if the regular fire doesn't work.
That's when I just haven't dared.
It's actually
yeah.
not too bad. Well, on a hunter. On my hunter.
Thanks, San.
Well, that's why I volunteered to accompany you.
Aha.
Fire
And
oil
you're
makes
talking-
all the difference in Icy Crevasse.
Well, you do have a point with that.
That's all.
Though I would say that I might have one warden that could have not too much trouble with it, but I have a feeling the rest of my characters are going to say, let's stay out of here. But of course, when you start to add multiple characters, Icy becomes rather
Right.
nasty.
Well,
Yeah.
I know my hunter can do it at 2-person at 115.
Right.
It's just easier if the second person doesn't have light armor, I discovered.
Yeah.
My apologies to Cinders.
But anyway, I would say that the landscape comes down to, on one end, we've got our stable master. On the other end, we've got Barad-dûr. And in between them, we've got this fortress where we're going to meet meet one of the interesting quest lines that we'll be talking about later. And of course, you got Mount Doom to the south of the road that connects the two. That about sums it up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty
Sums
much.
it. And just remember, when you're going around trying to go through Mount Doom, that area is going to be a real fun one to navigate. And Terry seemed to do a pretty good job of helping us through that last night. Or Thursday.
Well, that's because I am not relying on my radar right now for quest guidance, because I've got the arrow turned off in the radar. So I have to rely on the map.
Right.
Which I've discovered makes Mordor is actually navigatable with a map. So that puts it like better than Moria,
Yeah.
Well, there is that.
which is not navigatable with a map at all.
And I've decided that the landscape is actually... I've got two characters going through, one without the quest guide tracker thing and one with. And the landscape is less frustrating if you're not trying to follow a white quest arrow and keep running into lava streams.
Well, yeah, because the arrow points you as the crow flies, and Mordor is not really something you can navigate as the crow flies.
No, not without the eagle's help.
Yeah, and they fly away after dumping Frodo in the fields of Cormallen.
Yep.
The jerks.
Let's look at the mobs that you meet in this place. And they're rather nasty. Like we've got actually, let's begin with the least nasty of them. Actually, the one
Sulakil.
Yeah, the Sulakil, of course. They look big, and they don't look like the prettiest monsters
They
in the
look
world.
like a cross between a rhinoceros and a hippo.
Yeah.
And they're...
Fire hippos, yes.
And they don't
And they
hurt
don't
you
aggro.
unless you hurt them
Right.
first.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, whenever she sees them, Maven gets saddened because there's
I
Ace.
do.
yeah.
Whenever I see somebody kill them, it's like, oh, they're so nice, they're so sweet.
Yes. And they were forced to drag that Grond across all the way from
That's
Mordor
right.
to-
I know.
Just like the Mumax. Mumax were forced to do
Poor
all that
Sulakil,
stuff.
poor Mumax. Now we need Sulakil mounts as well as Mumak mounts.
Oh boy.
I mean, we could have Mumak Warsteed mounts and Sulakil regular mounts. That would work.
Okay.
Well, they could also just give us war goats, but I want to ride a Mumak.
You want to ride a Mumak, yes.
And now I want to ride a Sulakil.
So there we have the Sulakil, which unfortunately cannot be mounted at this time. And then you have things like those salamanders. Probably the ugliest salamanders you run into, and salamanders aren't exactly known for being the prettiest creatures in Middle-earth.
They are pretty ugly. They don't really look much like salamanders either.
And they're the ones that just threaten to attack first, right?
Right.
Yeah. So they're actually
They look like
paler than most
leeches
of
with
them.
legs.
Yep.
And you also run into some fire drakes. I know that one should be no huge shock. And worms, usual type.
And fire grims.
And Firegrims.
And fire grims, all the
That have
usual
that-
suspects over there.
Great dragon thing that they do if you don't kill them fast enough.
Oh yeah,
Well, it looks really cool until you're set on
Right.
fire.
yes. And you've got Kundalar that are running all over the place with those war bands.
There were some orc scouts too, weren't there?
There's some orcs around different places, and
Yeah.
also there are patches of level cap.
Yeah, we
You
ran into a
stumble
couple of them on Thursday.
And there's spirits.
Oh, and yes,
Dark
plenty
waters,
of
that's right.
spirits.
Oh, and fell spirits, that's right.
And fell
Yeah.
spirits.
No, the dark waters are in the next area, but the
I thought there were some dark areas in one of the ronks.
Oh.
There's 3 ronks there. I think.
Oh
one of them
yeah,
was
in
dark.
the.
I think one of them
cistern
does
thingy.
have some.
oh, one of the cisterns.
Yeah,
okay,
I think so.
I guess. Okay, I thought the cisterns in this area were clean, but
One
that's
of them
right.
do, but the
No,
ones
I
in the
think
next
one of
area
them's
definitely
not.
do.
Okay, but that's the one thing that I forgot to mention when we talk about landscape were, of course, the cisterns, which are
And you get a very cool title of Oasis Seeker if you
the
discover
Oasis
all of
Seeker
them.
if you discover them. Yes.
Oh, and watching stones. There's lots of watching stones.
Yeah, that I was
around
about to bring.
Doromarth.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
okay.
about to bring that up in conjunction with the fell spirits because you
Right.
challenge the watching stones and pull out their fell spirits and have some fun with that. And you even do some quests for a watching stone for some weird reason.
It must have put us under a spell.
Yeah,
I don't have
it
any
must have put us
idea
under a-
why else I would have been doing that.
Right. I mean, we trust the stupid stone to do what it's asking us to do, really, and then surprise. I mean,
really, after considering some of the stuff we've done in conjunction with,
I've been
Right.
through
Things
Angmar.
before.
I have a
Yeah.
healthy suspicion of these things.
yes,
that's right.
So therefore, yes, and you have those things up there. And Kargul. Oh, wow. You meet Kargul in Mordor. What a shock.
Oh, good heavens. Yes.
And they respawn pretty fast, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you take a wrong turn, there's some shadow grims.
Shadow Grims, that's right.
And they can make you
Fun.
invisible.
But there are also very cool rare chests and lore pages. So the lore book for Doromarth is you're probably going to talk about it later. But I was just going to I'll just say right now that it's like my favorite lore book because of the topic that it covers.
Oh, and I haven't had a chance to listen to. Oh, that's right, because we got that so late last night where we finally picked up the last page of that lore book. It was just so late I didn't have time to stick it in my house and listen to it yet.
Yeah, it's really neat.
So therefore that should go onto my to-do list because as you said, it is based on the little snippets that I've been able to listen to. It should be a very good one.
Yeah, it's about the Nazgul.
Right. And you're saying, how do you get to Doromarth? Of course, you can get through there through the stable masters in Mordor as
Boring.
usual. Or you can
Or you
go
walk
through
through
the
a door.
Mordor door if you, assuming that you did the ultimate bundle, or you have a friend who put it in is willing to install a door in your house.
And there might be one in your kinship house, too.
Yeah, or in your kinship house. If anyone in your kin happened to have an extra door, they probably dropped in the kin house.
And if anybody had more than one character, they had extra doors. They had
Yes.
the ultimate bundle. I think I've
You
got
can
a whole
have
room of them now.
one room of 4, right?
Right.
I know, but I don't tend to put Mordor doors into my hobbit hole. I just don't think it fits decor-wise. So I only put them into my bank vault.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
My
since
hobbit
they're-
hole has a room that's decorated as though it's for Halloween.
Yeah.
It's a totally
Okay,
innocent
it
door.
will fit in there. Okay,
Yep.
it'll fit in that one then. But especially my one on Landrival, which is one that I hired someone to decorate, I'm not going to ruin the hired decoration by putting in a Mordor door. And that's brings
And-
you in there. So
wait.
you how to
We should note that with that door, you can be level 5 and go to Doromarth.
Yeah. All you have to do is have completed the starter instance and be in the real world, and yep, you can go to your housing neighborhood or wherever you got, or your kin housing neighborhood, click on the door, and you'll find yourself in Doromarth. Now, do you really want to be there if you're level 6?
Why
Maybe.
not?
I've done it. I have to admit, I have been known to do that on occasion.
I mean, my high elf had just come from there, and she went back, and then she realized how underpowered she was, but, you know.
Well, and if
that was
you want to
before
spend
she could have gotten titles anyway, for not dying.
And if you want to spend some mithril, you can take the stable master to some of the other stable points in Mordor. So, you know.
It's true. You can just unlock them all. Go touring.
Yeah.
Sightseeing in Mordor.
Dangerously. Live dangerously, die fast.
Live dangerously for
Check the
30
reflexes of the Gondorian guards.
Yes, and be careful in Udun because you might be attacked by a Marthi. Oh, no, that was in beta. Never mind. Let's now head into the Black Book of Mordor, Chapter 2, where we start out with an heirloom quest, where you picked up this heirloom at the end of Chapter 1, and so now you're asked to investigate in it so that you could cleanse this heirloom of its evil. And what's nice about this particular quest is that it is different for each class.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
And the stories that I've seen so far were really well written.
Yes, I have seen the champion one, but through one of Endang's videos. I've done the warden one 3 times, I think. And I've done the hunter
Only
one.
3 times?
I think only 3 times. And I believe I've done the hunter. I think those are the only ones I've done so far.
The only thing I wished with that was that they gave us like an end game level 1 heirloom, because I felt really bad when I ashed it.
Oh.
But I had no more room in my bags.
Yeah, that is...
And it wasn't even as good as the one I already had equipped on my hunter.
Oh, that's right, because we were running... That's right, because you can get some nice landscape drops before you do that quest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on most of my characters, when I was soloing in the area and being circumspect, no. I didn't even... I don't think my pocket item was even Mordor quality by the time I did that, so therefore it was useful for those characters.
My Ariad character likes it. Or liked it until she just got her better one. But, yeah, my hunter was kind of disappointed. The story, though, was very well written.
Yeah, so we had some good writing for this, and we had a good opportunity for each class to have a quest, because it's been a long time since we've had a class quest. So it is nice of them to have one.
And it was nice to have one without having to go back to Bree to talk to my trainer.
Yeah,
So I could probably still find my trainer.
Yeah, you could probably do that. And then after that, Elrond will then take whatever item you found, because the item is slightly different for each class. He infuses it with the light of Erend. You cleanse it of evil, then Elrond infuses it, and then you've got this nice item. But as you said, sometimes you might have already found something better by that time, because it's a pocket item. And of course, you sometimes get random loot that's better. And during the later quests within their areas, you can get something better for there also. After that, they send you into the lands of Doom. Isn't that a nice, fun place to go?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that, of course, meaning that is the land surround to the north of Mount Doom, where you will be. And while you're there, you run into our old friendly scholar.
Yeah. You know, she's so optimistic about all the work she does.
Yes, she does.
That's because she doesn't actually do any work.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, because the purpose of scholars is to send their grad students to do all the work. And in that
Right, she's
case,
like,
she
scholars,
treats us as
like
friends,
us,
too.
we dig in the dirt. Now go dig in that dirt, you expendable you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You go around.
We're like
looking
teaching
for-
assistants, you know?
Yeah, teaching assistants. And you go all around the area looking through ash piles in order to find this fragment of a fragment that she is sure is going to lend a great value of interesting information about the history of Mordor.
Yeah. And she's really pleased when you find it, too.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Probably
Please,
because my hands were the ones that had the debris all over them.
Yeah, that's good possible. But then we hear that voices and that we're attracted to doing it. And at that point, we learn that there are some treasure hunters going out there, and one of their members turned on the other two for some weird reason. And
Mordor. Looking for treasure in Mordor. Nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
Nothing's gonna
Right.
go wrong.
And it turns out, and the
Such
one
a
who
terrible
turned
idea.
right, and the one who turned on his friends turned out to be the person that we were helping back in Udun. And it turned out that we go to him, we fight him a little bit, and then he comes back to his senses. Because apparently, the trouble happened is that going too close to this pit that is sponsoring us today.
The Abyss
to the
of
sponsor.
Morgoth.
Yes, the Abyss of Morgoth is apparently going closer there. It drove him mad a bit, and he turned on his friends. And
A bit.
yes. So he went back, and I think they went back home to rest. And at the same time, our scholar finally decided that she could take danger in moderation, but now it's getting more than moderately dangerous.
Which was probably the smartest thing that she has said.
Right. And after we go and report to Mithrandir all that has happened, we get an emissary. An emissary from an old frenemy. And that is the mouth of Sauron. The mouth of Sauron comes and, well, actually, he doesn't come first. He sends a guard to say, "Oh, could you please send the King of Gondor over to Barad-dûr so that he could have words with the mouth of Sauron?" Oh, no, not the mouth of Sauron. He is now the heir to Sauron.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Because he is the great heir to Sauron, and he is the ruler of all Mordor, or at least he will be as soon as he takes care of a couple of side projects, getting rid of his adversaries and all
That he
stuff.
would really prefer that you do for him.
Right, of course.
Right.
So therefore, he sends it. We go over there. He refers to us as the mouth of Gondor, since
That's all
I
he
guess
knows.
that's all he knows. Yes,
Yeah.
that's all he knows. So we get labeled as the mouth of Gondor as we speak for Aragorn, because Aragorn is not going to set foot inside of Barad-dûr when there is, under these circumstances, which is probably the best idea for a king. Because we know what happened when a certain other king decided to take a walk into Minas Morgul.
Had to fight him more than once.
Yes.
But now he's hiding out in Minas Morgul.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll have to worry about him at some point.
Yeah.
And then after we do that little thing, that ends chapter 2, because after that they send us further in, and we'll discuss those other ways you can go in our next review. But that concludes the Black Book chapter 2. And anyone have any thoughts about chapter 2 that they haven't mentioned already?
Me.
All right, then let's head into the main course quest lines for the area. I have divided them into 2 groups. One of those groups I refer to as the Dwarven quest line, and the other one I'm referring to as the Prisoner quest line. Let's begin with the dwarves.
Such nice dwarves that you find by a cistern.
The Russian dwarves.
Yeah.
The Russian dwarves, yes. In fact, that's where you start to learn about the cisterns, is because that's where the dwarves are. But of course, with Mount Doom recently erupting, the water in the cisterns isn't exactly the tastiest in the world.
I can't imagine that the water in Mordor wasn't foul before Mount Doom erupted, honestly.
Okay, well, let's see. If I remember correctly, Frodo and Sam did describe it as a bit...
Nasty.
Nasty, yes. That's a good word to put to it. It was drinkable, but barely so. Yes. Yeah, if you're dying of thirst, it's drinkable.
If you're dying of thirst, it's drinkable, but yeah, not 10/10 would not recommend.
Yes.
And so we kindly provided these dwarves with water that was fit to
With
drink.
fresher, yeah, that was fitter for. And we become nice, good friends with them, and we introduced them to Gimli. And
Who was very excited to find dwarves in Mordor.
Yes. Yes. He was suspecting it was a possibility with all those slaves that we met in Udun, but now, yes, there really are dwarves in Mordor that aren't constantly forge mastering up in Udun.
The stout axes.
The stout axes. And we help the stout axes in order to, so that we can visit them, because apparently you have to get rid of some fell spirits in order to be able to get up there unnoticed, because the mistress of the tower where they work is apparently very big on fell spirits and watching stones.
Right.
Well, it hasn't failed her before.
That's right. So we go drive off those fell spirits, go in, speak with the dwarves. They give us some quests to do things like free their king, create a weapon for the king that has been lost, because apparently Sauron had kidnapped their king in order to get their loyalty. Oh, you know how Sauron is.
Yeah.
He does not win the Mr. Congeniality Award in any way whatsoever. And we go and help them, alright, fine. And we free the king, fine. And the king is all nice, man. He thinks this is a great hero. We go and help him in order to get rid of their mistress. So now they're all free.
And while we're helping them, their place is pretty sweet. They've got Forge Master, Relic Master, Provisioner. You can just stop by and sell whatever, repair. It's very handy.
Yeah, it's all nice and handy. It's a nice, perfectly suitable area that you have in there. And then we go and help them get rid of the mistress. And then we find the chink in the entire situation is apparently the king is obsessed with regaining the lost ring of his people. Now,
because that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
And
totally didn't just have a whole war over a ring.
yeah.
And the interesting thing is that they, who said it? Was it Gimli, I think, or somebody says that what they think happened was that Sauron made him wear the ring, for a long time, so that he was hooked, and then Sauron took the ring away from him, which broke him. He became like a dwarf type of Gollum kind of person.
I think you're right. I think it was Gimli who said that.
Yeah, I think it was Gimli.
Yeah.
Which was kind of ooh, yeah. Ooh. I could definitely see how that could be a problem. So the guy's completely obsessed.
Obsessed with it.
Because didn't
Crazy.
Gimli make the Gollum comparison?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did. And, Gimli knows about that stuff.
Well, yeah.
Now. So,
So therefore, we had the really nice thing where because of that obsession, he decides to turn on us and he exiles us. And eventually, we decide, plus the few remaining stout axes that decide that, I'm sorry, we are going to forget about this false king. But outside of them, all the other stout axes change their names to the Firehorns and lock themselves up in Nugash's tower, and we have to go in and kill them. Yes, we have to kill them all. We have to kill well, we can't get to the king, but we have to kill them all. Try to free the ones that want to be freed, that want to be out of there, of course. But outside of them, we have to kill many of them. We have to kill the Forge Master. We have to kill the Provisioner.
The barber. We have to kill the barber, for heaven's sake.
Really, poor thing.
They've still got their title and their icon over their head.
Their icon.
Yeah.
But that relic master is not going to be fortune hunting relics for you.
No.
Yes.
Or identifying allies for you.
And the Provisioner's not going to repair your armor anymore. He'll happily put more dents in it, though.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, one of the things that I discovered, because I had Aria'd my high elf, so when he went into Dora Marth and killed his first Firehorns, he got the Dowerhand deed. The Dowerhand Slayer deed. So I guess evil dwarves are evil dwarves, no matter where you find them.
Yeah.
Evil dwarves are evil.
Whether they're evil because of an undead king or because of a ring.
Right.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yes. Yeah, I think it comes down to pretty much the
And
same
turning
thing.
them evil anyway.
So, yes, that's where we finish up. We go in there, go after them. After we clear that place out and find the notes of their former mistress, we then have to go into Barad-dûr. We had to go into Barad-dûr in the first place in order to do that king rescue and all this. I sort of, I guess, left out the point that you had to go into Barad-dûr in order to do all that stuff.
Right,
but now we have to go into
prisoner.
But this time, instead of going to Barad-dûr through the front door as we did the first time, this time we go down through that wonderful pit
That is sponsoring us tonight.
that is sponsoring us tonight. Yes. The Abyss of Mordath. We go down there and we wind up dropping down at the very, very end of the place where you go to in Barad-dûr.
Right, because going down there on a rope was totally a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially with all that fire around.
Yeah, I mean, we had to, because we eventually go into, because that put us into the same room where we fought a troll when we were down there in the first time in Barad-dûr. So therefore we go on down in there, then we go across, and we come across a shade, so I guess they call it a remnant of Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so apparently he has these little remnants here and there that I guess you can run into, and Sauron apparently created a trap for the dwarves because he hated the dwarves, and so he set a trap there and says, well, if the dwarves want to try to get the ring, I'm going to put a trap for them here.
He says something like the plan is going as expected, the king and his dwarves, as intended. So something about that they will find the missing rings, but he'll never find the ring he's looking for. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's what he said.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for more
And
to come.
isn't this the same pit that we heard a growling out of?
Yep.
Yeah.
Narcraw is the beast that we
Just
never get
checking.
to see. We get to see his claw marks, but that's it.
Right.
Did Narcraw go down, though, or did he come up?
I don't know.
No, Narcraw. Because the pit is the one that we roped down at because we entered the instance at the location where Narcraw went down.
Because we found the claw marks coming up out of
Right,
Barad-dûr.
but we also hear growling at the bottom of the abyss after we kill Sepulchre, and also
But that's because there's all kinds of nasty things supposed to be in there.
The whole warden wants to know where he's gone, because when he sees you in the room where Narcraw was, with the doors broken, he says, where, because he doesn't know. He's, surprised that Narcraw apparently escaped, so, anyway. Yeah, we haven't met him yet, right? We haven't met that particular lovely beast quite yet.
Right.
Okay. Hmm. And after that, after we meet the shade of Sauron, I think that pretty much finished it up, didn't it?
No. Oh, no. I mean, which? Oh, you're talking about the book. Let's see.
I'm talking about the dwarven side.
Oh, the dwarven side. Yeah, that does pretty much finish it up. So we don't. And this again, same thing with Narcraw. I mean, I'm suspecting that we're going to run into them again in some future update, right? I mean, the story to be continued, I assume.
Yeah.
It would make sense to continue it.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to find out at some other point when this is all going to bite us again.
Yeah, I know.
Though for the moment, despite having locked us out of the upstairs door, you can still go into
That's
the
right.
downstairs main door.
And kill evil, which is
And kill
Which is a
lots and
deed.
lots and lots and lots and lots of evil dwarves.
Lots and lots of evil dwarves. Yes.
Yes.
And that then is the dwarven side, which is one of the two quest lines in there. The other quest line. Oh, anything you want to say about the dwarven side before we go to the other quest line? Then let's head to the other side, which is the prisoner quest line, which is we have a black Numenorian prisoner who I believe was blinded. And and he tells us about three nasties that we will need to fight in order to foil their plots or something like that. And we go after them, and this is where we run into a few shades and stuff like that also, because we go into this area where you've got these Kargul and Fell Spirits and all that fun stuff. Shadow Grims.
Yep.
So that was a real fun mess. And that's where we run into that guardian spirit that gives us quests.
Yes. Watching Stone we help.
Yeah, that watching stone that we decide to help for reasons that still boggle my imagination.
Maybe we just wanted XP.
Well, I guess that's a possibility. We do get obsessed with that on occasion. Especially when we're below the level cap. And in that one, we go and take care of those now. One of them we do by going into the area I was just talking about, and the other one of those areas we have to go into Barad-dûr. And one of the ones that we're trying to find is that beast that we were talking about earlier, because these things are crossing paths with each other.
Right.
And we had to go down into the bottom of Barad-dûr where we find where the beast was kept, who escaped, as we mentioned earlier. And also, we wind up going down into this pit where we had to fight this troll who apparently likes throwing people down in there saying, "Hey, did you find anything?"
And he volunteers very kindly to throw us in to try to find something too.
Right.
Yeah, and we decide that, no, we don't feel like doing that at the moment.
So really, going down Gimli's way is definitely better than going down the Troll's way.
True. Very
Okay,
true.
I will
True.
give you that.
At least you have some control over your descent when you're going down on a rope.
It's true.
Well, I'm just happy that the troll wasn't waiting for us when we arrived.
Yeah.
Oh, he probably hasn't figured out how to get down there.
No,
That's why he was throwing
but
rocks
Gimli
down.
takes us to the same place where the troll was.
Oh,
That's the landing that Gimli takes us to, is where that troll was.
well, he does end up leaving the tower.
Yeah, so anyway, after we do that and foil the plans of those three, though we don't kill them completely, because as we find out later, we
And it tells
return.
us So-and-so has been incapacitated as they disappear.
As they disappear.
As what appears to be their corpse disappears.
Yes. We then return to the Black Numenorian, who's in... And after we turn in all those quests, we then hear that, there is something going on at Barad-dûr that we must now check out. The Ithilstone. They have found, apparently, the Ithilstone, so therefore, we go in there, and it turns out that those 3 people that we defeated before are now trying to decide what to do with the Ithilstone. And you have the Ithilstone right there on the ground. And we go out there to challenge them in order to get the Ithilstone when some Merfolk come and steal it? Now, we have not yet run into any Merfolk in Mordor that I know of, so that's...
Yes, it was surprising.
We will. Actually, it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. We don't run into them, actually, on landscape at all, anywhere. You do in the resources later. We'll get to those, I'm sure, in a future episode. But that's interesting that we don't run into them landscape at all. Indoor.
So therefore, I don't run in... Yeah, so therefore, we have these Merfolk, which apparently are running at cross purposes sometimes with the people at Sauron. Or at least they maybe have their own faction that, or they're in a different faction. Yes, because these people are, of course, in the faction for the heir of Mordor, for heir Sauron in there. So therefore, it could be that the Merfolk work for another faction. And you said they're in a resource instance, so
they are in the resource instance for Dormoth, which I find kind of surprising. But we do meet Moraval later in one of the other regions, and there is a boss that we learn about in that region. And I'm suspecting that might be. We don't know this yet. We still don't know it. We may find that she's the dealing with stuff.
All right.
Is this the first time we really see Moraville flying?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is. Have we ever seen them fly before?
Didn't we see the queen or whoever she was fly off in Moria?
She might have flown off.
Oh,
I
and
remember
also
the really high nests, but I also remember we could get up to them by walking up platforms.
When Angmar, they fly down on you, right? In that one cave in Angmar, outside of Alhire, you go in and they're up hanging from the ceiling and they fly down. Yeah.
Huh.
By the way, just as a side note, I was fighting Moraval the other day, and I was listening to their voices. You know how they are when they fight, and they're like, ooh, 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 ah, whatever it is they do. And I thought to myself, I would love to have been the fly on the wall in the sound studio with whoever was doing those voices and listening to the director direct them. Anyway, sorry. That was a side note.
So therefore, after that happens, we once again drive off those that the Molarian Shemp of Mordor.
Yeah.
And once
sometimes
we take
with
care,
death. Be careful in that instance.
Oh yes, that's right. That is a tricky instance in order to complete in there. Because I remember when I was doing it on my burglar. Now you got to remember, is not anything near the top burglar in the world, and I demonstrated that thoroughly when I'm going, oh my goodness gracious, I'm about to get killed. And of course Terry Adams says, well, why don't you just hips?
I know. I thought that was hilarious.
That with or flop.
I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, and you're a hobbit, so there's a hobbit. That's right.
Yeah, my high elf Runekeeper had trouble with that earlier today. Put an AoE on the guys after without really thinking about it, and was promptly killed by the two of them that weren't being fought by Ingold. And fortunately, I have learned about instances that you should run back in as fast as possible. And I got there
that's right.
in time to help kill those two before he died.
I caught up with you guys, so I took Maven in, and I took her in Blue Line. She's a lore master, and I hit Sikkim, and got the whole menagerie on them, and they just killed each one in sequence. I mean, they defeated each one in sequence. I was like, well, that was. Glordrill didn't have quite as easy a time when she was doing it But yeah, so that was, But I was thinking about Pine Leaf the whole time I was doing it, because I was just like, oh boy, I just can't imagine trying to do this.
When I was talking to Pine Leaf, and he's like, yeah, remember Terry was telling me hips, flop, flop. I was like, yeah, I do remember, but I'm a high elf. I can't do either.
Well, there is that little detail. So after that instance is all over, we then... Actually, it's not quite over, because after we have that little fight, our companion that we are there with says, wait, I see a light in the distance. What can it be? What can it be? He takes us to it. And it turns out to be the lost spear of Gilgalad.
Which was hilarious, because as I'm reading it, I'm reading this out loud as we're going through it, and I said, yeah, that means nothing to me. Terry's a woman of Gondor. She doesn't care about this high elf whatever.
Well, there is that. Well, yeah. But apparently, yes, we found the spear of Gilgalad, and of course the elves are all excited about this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the most excited they've been in hundreds of years.
Yep. And we're all thinking, how are we going to get this and stuff like this? We sent an expedition out, and it turns out that we find that there are these cultists. Now, these cultists you run into all throughout both quest chains in there. These cultists, the Order of the Eye, they are obsessed because they are convinced that Sauron is going to return.
And they are going to help him return.
And that's right. And it is their sacred duty to help Sauron return, that they will be rewarded greatly by the returned Sauron and all that la stuff.
In other words, they're very happy to kill you any chance they get. Or try
right.
Yada yada.
And apparently they are worshipping the spear.
Yeah, which I don't get.
Because apparently it demonstrates that Sauron is able to take over anything. It proves the power of Sauron. We're talking about the Order of the Eye here. They're
not very
First of all, by the way, we should also say that the name of this particular quest is Disorder of the Eye, which I think is hilarious. The thing that I find interesting is, and I was thinking about this when I was doing it, these guys believe that Sauron's going to return.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not unprecedented, because he's done it twice. He's come back twice now. Once from Numenor, once after the Last Alliance. So it's like, I could see them believing it. But so they somehow have the sword, the spear is kind of connected to that belief.
Well, and we ran into kind of part of his shade, at least. Right.
Of course, the difference this time around is he's lost his... So, with the ring gone, it's a different deal. That wasn't true the last two times.
Right. Well, the first time he had his full power, didn't he? And then the second time, he had put most of it into the ring, and the ring was still there.
Yeah, the ring was still in existence. So once it got destroyed, then... But they don't know that.
Right.
Anyway, so I just admired that as like the storyline is cool in the lore text, because that does make sense that there would be still followers believing he would come back. Cause
it's kind of fun to rain on their parade.
It is. I know. It is. It is to demonstrate to them that he ain't coming back, guys.
Yeah, because what happens then is we try to talk to we find all these cultists there, and after killing a few, we try to talk to one of them and says, all right, what's going on here, pretty much? And he eventually says, well, Sauron is going to return and all that fun stuff he's going to say. He's going to come back. And our leader, and why we worship this one is because it proves how great Sauron is, because he defeated this stupid elf in the end. Because, yeah, there is this whole thing that's about Sauron being temporarily maimed and all that stuff, but that elf is dead and we've got his spear, so there.
It is a little chilling to think about the fact that after the last alliance, Sauron had taken the spear and done that to it. It was kind of like make it a monument of his power or whatever. Kind of.
Right. And after that is done, we decide to go to their cult leader. We defeat the cult leader. We grab an idol from him. We then go to the spear. We hold up the idol to the spear, and the spear disintegrates their most precious idol, saying, okay, now, is this what you're worshiping? And the Order of the Eye says, goodbye.
Let's give that a second thought.
It's a quite blinding flash.
It is.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a blind.
Plus, you don't do anything to do it. It's like you just get close, and all of a sudden, your whole screen goes white.
So with that done, we can then finally go back, and that ended that quest line because the elves decide, maybe we'll just leave the spear there. So therefore, my warden cannot have the spear of Gil-galad.
I was pretty sure they weren't going to let you have it anyway, Pine.
Yeah, but a hobbit
But they were talking about the only worthy hands to wield it would be an elf's.
Well.
You're too short. You love it.
Ooh, Terry, you said fighting words. Fighting words.
Hobbits are short, I'm sorry.
Well. Anyway.
Well, that's right. Tell her.
And that ended the prisoner quest line. So they just ask you to do a little scouting, which is helpful.
Oh, don't forget you have to
going
go
to
cook
area.
meat for Ingold, good old Ingold.
Oh, I see. I consider that to be. I consider that whole meat thing to be
unnecessary resource side quest because that's
really
a whole lot of no.
It didn't go anywhere. I mean, it was just.
I don't know why they wanted to
kill Sulu kill.
It was
they said or goats.
No, not just Sulu kill, the dire horns, which are ancient evil goats that live in Mordor. Why would you want to eat that?
We brought them ancient evil meat, but why?
I know I was thinking about that as I was hunting them. I'm like, well, this is ancient evil. Why do you want to have ancient evil?
You don't. Dinner? You really, really don't.
The moral of this is, if somebody offers you something that looks like ham in Mordor, particularly near Dingarth, politely decline and eat your Daleman's cram instead.
Tables. That's the moral of that story.
Or Sulu killed jerky. Don't even.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure all of that stuff that I put in that looked like ham was really ancient evil meat.
Actually, I guess direhorn jerky would be even worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It probably all tastes like chicken anyway.
Or bacon.
Sorry.
Evil chicken.
Oh, that's terrible.
Sorry.
All right. Then that leaves.
Well, and then we had to cook it, and we didn't cook it on the campfire. No, we found a volcanic spot where we were almost on fire to cook this meat. So it's like doubly contaminated.
Yeah. Apparently, it was the only space that had a hot enough fire in order to purify it to get rid of all the nasty stuff in it.
I don't know that would have been
apparently.
I mean, think of all the fumes coming off of that fire still. We basically, instead of hickory smoked meat, we've got
volcanic smoked meat.
Volcanic, oily, ashy meat.
Dude, you should charge 3 times as much.
That was ancient evil to begin with. Like,
given haute cuisine these days, some chef could come in and make a big deal out of that, right?
I know, right? Like start a new
a Mordor
cooking
chain.
method.
A new food truck, Dora Marth food truck with this stuff.
Oh man.
Volcanic roasted.
Something tells me we're getting some
volcanic
episode
roasted
names going on right now.
Goat. Evil goat. With just a hint of ash and oil.
Essence of smoke or something. I don't know.
Tastes just like evil chicken.
It's just like evil chicken. There we go. We don't even have to vote tonight. That's it. That's the episode name right there.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. Tastes like evil chicken.
I know how much
Just
you
like
guys.
evil chicken.
I know how much you guys love the vote, but yeah,
Yeah, let's not bother.
You guys make me laugh so much.
No, okay, so does that mean that the scouting one you counted as just a random extra one too, then, Pine Leaf?
No, it's
It's almost a
sort of the
semi-vector,
combination.
isn't it?
It's a combination, I believe. The scouting one is the combination of the prisoner one, actually, because I don't think it unlocks until you finish up with the spear instance.
Can I just say, the end of that quest was evil? Like, you've come to this
It's
place
a
and it's
teaser.
like, you are being charged by spiders. And so, being a blue line hunter, I backed up, and it says, you have failed the quest! And I said, what?
Oh.
Like, you told me I'm being charged by spiders. What did you expect me to do? Go forward? No? Like, so, I had to redo that one.
Oh,
I was still
boy.
in shooting range. I didn't
And
go
what's
that
worse,
far backwards.
all the way back.
Yeah, I had to go all the way back and do it again. And then I couldn't decide if I was allowed to move forward or backwards, so I just stood still. But I'm a blue line hunter, and I was killing things before they got to me, so I guess I can't complain too much. But standing still while shooting is hard.
Yeah. I suppose if you're in a situation like that where moving is not a good idea, it might be a good idea to switch to another line if you
I
have
guess
two
so, because
lines
then
set
it
up.
would at least interrupt you and tell you moved.
Yeah.
But I should be able to shoot something and step backwards. Like, that's what I do. Anyway.
Well, next time you're on your hunter, just go further up the road, before, and then if you step back, then you won't. I don't know what the line is.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
where the
that's-
line was. It would have been helpful if there was like a circle or something that you could be like, okay, I'm not going outside of this. But, oh well. I
Then
finished it.
Yes. Then after you finish, around the time you finish all this stuff, at some point you probably hit level 110. I know we tended to be well past that before we finish the area sometimes, but let's say about you sometime in Doromoth you'll probably hit 110, which means it's time to head into the Allegiance system.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Now we're going to deal with that.
Yay!
Are we going to deal with that in a separate dealing? Talk about the allegiance system? Or you plan on talking
Well, I was planning to do it tonight, but seeing because this is when you run to it, but probably it looks
Because
like we're
you can
running later than I expected, so maybe we could postpone that.
Well, and you can start it at 110, but you're probably not going to finish it at 110.
You got a point there. And in fact, I have most of my characters who haven't gotten past the first quest related to it yet, so yeah. So yes, there will be plenty of time on that, so therefore we will cover the Allegiance system later. So that is Mordor. Anyone have any raids that they would like to give for the second part of Mordor, for Dor Amroth?
I'm going with a C, only because of the tasty evil chicken meat. Because that's just all around, this is a bad idea.
All right, and Sans?
Well, I'm gonna go A- again. And the minus is really just because of the spiders at the end of it. I mean, okay, so the ancient evil meat was kind of gross, especially when they could have just sent me back to the Shire and I would have brought back nice lot of stuff because apparently I can carry huge boulders in my bag. Multiple huge boulders in my bag, so it should be no problem for me to make a run to the Shire and back. I mean, they did that anyway. I was already going back for my class quest. I might as well have just brought back food. Well, I guess I didn't go to the Shire, but I could have. Anyway, I get that they needed food, so I'm okay with that. They ate what was around and it was unwise, but hopefully they don't die. But I stepped backwards away from spiders while shooting and failed a quest, and that's just sad.
All right. Maven?
I'm so easy. You know, I mean, I gotta say, I'm probably the first person to give grades to because I'm just thrilled that the Lord of the Rings is actually in a game, right? So it's like, it takes a lot to like, actually, I guess I have. I think in past ones, I think I got really about something. I can't remember. But anyway, I'm with an A because I like the storylines. I like what they did, you know, in terms of, I love the book. The book is one of my faves because of its subject matter. And, you know, we're obviously building towards something, you know, and it's just interesting. It's interesting how they've developed this logical sequence of, you know, of course there would be power grabs going on in more Sauron defeated, you know, and I mean, Tolkien kind of says that in about like not even a complete sentence in The Return of the King, but this is, you know, this is it fleshed out. And I do think Stanislaus has done a really nice job with it, you know, this particular version of Middle Earth. So I mean, I have a good time with it. I mean, some of the stuff drives me a little bit nuts, but that's because remember last week my player question was, how do you not get bored, you know, doing it over and over again? And I'm now working on my third alt going through Dora in a relatively short space of time. So, but that's not fair because when I did on Glurdrail, even finding the obsidian, which was across the lava lake and I had to go all the way out and around, still didn't bother me that much. So it did on the third time around, but at least that time at least by then I knew, you know, not to try to jump across or do anything weird. So I'm an A. I'm just an easy grader.
All right. Now, since last week, since in Udun, I gave them the ding for my two biggest complaints about the expansion, I don't think I have a right to ding them again, so therefore I'm going to give them an A for this one.
That is very fair.
I'm sure there's those people who built Udun are saying, "What? You should have spread it out."
Well, we probably should have. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather eat cram, though, than evil meat.
Well, you do have a point there.
Um,
I get you. Maybe that's why it was nerfed, is because Doomfold food just isn't all that good. I would just have to hope that the food that you grow in once you get into, once they open up Nirn, we would have to, hopefully there'll be some better food then.
oh, yeah, that would make sense to have better food with Nirn.
Yeah, because
It'd be lacking the sulfur, well, at least some of the sulfur contamination.
yeah, there's a bit of high sulfur content in the food up in Mordor. Because someone was noting, I think it was Terry Admin, you were the one who was noting it, the yellow color of the clouds.
Oh, the yellow urine color of the sky at dawn.
Yeah. So I can only speculate that you have some sort of sulfuric mesh up in the clouds up in there, which is not going to be anything
But
nice.
Nirn is like the farmlands of Mordor, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it should be at least slightly more healthy if they can grow plants.
I would say we get to Nern and it's going to look like Kansas. It's going to be grain fields, and more grain fields. In fact, I believe that is how it's described when we were doing Udun. In one of the Udun quests, they mentioned...
Oh, yeah. Doesn't one of the guys from Nern say something like that?
Yeah. The person that we're helping all through that quest line is...
He says it looks like Kansas?
Kettle.
No.
That's a little lore breaking.
No, he says it's endless grain fields.
Gotcha.
Let's head into the site news.
I broke Pine Leaf, yes.
Yes. The Tale of the Stale Pretzels in Mordor. Beta 2. I have no clue as what he's talking about there.
Kind of like how we were talking about Twinkies in the loot boxes, or in the Scourge reward boxes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some of the problems that we've already discussed about the beta.
Oh, you mean that the instances are... Because this was in build 2, and I think they didn't fix the loot for the instances until build 3.
Right.
Right.
So hopefully there's something more than stale pretzels then for in there then. But yeah, so he's talking about the preliminary loot that was in
talking
there.
about some of the fact that the difficulty is kind of insane too.
Oh, this is Mordor. That's nothing new. There's a reason why I've been doing it with
having
other people.
gone through the 6-man on with the girls, I can thoroughly sympathize with some of his complaint, because that instance was not fun.
It was brutal, I guess.
Yeah, but that's the same way. Remember we talked about last week in Udun, or whenever we did Udun, that first instance in Anglak was really tough too, and then they dialed it back. So hopefully they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah,
with the
dial it to a place where it's a challenge, but not hopelessly brutal. Especially if he's talking about Tier 1, because Tier 1 should not be hopelessly brutal.
It was Tier 1. And I don't think I would have thought it was that difficult, except for the fact that we had set at 105, and the 105s with us, even with the best gear that they could get from the Isengard, couldn't do anything about the shadow, or get anywhere close to enough resistances or finesse or anything else that they needed to get through there safely.
Was 105 the minimum setting?
Yeah.
And
so I don't think it scaled down very well.
Oh, and its Shadow of Mordor is present in the instance when there's a 105 setting.
A very high amount of shadow.
The release notes now say they're not going to have shadow until cap.
Which would be good.
Yeah, that was one of the things that
nice.
they fixed in this
build. And then they're going to have even more shadow at Tier 2, but that's going to be nice, because that's going to make a huge difference.
I was going to say, that should make it much better.
Okay, yeah, because that makes sense then, to take care of that little...
Yeah, that's not consistent. I mean, well, at least at 105, there shouldn't really be a shadow issue.
Yeah, right. You shouldn't be sending out lots of... Yeah, so therefore, if you have it a case of... You say so that it's likely that they're not going to have shadow till cap?
That's one of the changes they made for this build,
in the instances, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess I don't know what the best place to do it, but I guess 115 is a reasonable place to have it so that people could get used to the instance or something like that. But when they hit cap, you're expecting them to have shadow gear by then. I mean, light gear by then.
Right, you should have fairly decent light gear, or at least the ability to get and equip it.
Right. So I'll call that fair enough. And he said extra at Tier 2, which is also fair enough.
Right.
And our other piece of site news is Poems of the Pine of the Ring of Power. This is the final installment of 4, Volume 4. At the point of despair, the pressure was eased as the Eagles arrived to reverse the tide. The Nazgul fled south to Sauron's aid, till the gate groaned with a ghastly crash. Then Langeville carried us to the ledge of doom to find our friends Frodo and Sam. They were tired, hungry, hurt, but alive. So they were carried to a place of peace and rest. Frodo remained quiet on how the quest was run, for pain and peril pressed in his mind. We asked for the tale of the terrible day when Frodo arrived to the fires of doom. When at the forges of doom Frodo claimed the ring, Gollum grasped for the gold. Then he danced with his prize in a dangerous place, till he stepped too close to the chasm. And that is the end of our. I was wondering if I should have put sort of a capstone to that in there, but I just could not find anything that could follow up on it.
Oh, raw meat, cooking meat. That would have been the right
No, that would be in the Black Book series.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about it. It is? No, that's not the Black Book series. That was
No. I mean the raw meat.
Yeah, that was not Black Book. That was.
Well, I know it wasn't technically, but it. I don't think
it would go better with the Black Book than with the
Well,
epic.
it's like a trailer for a movie, kind of a thing. You could put a little raw meat teaser in there.
Actually, the teaser would be the spiders.
Yeah.
When you go to find when you go to scouting.
Let's go to the new player question.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this week's question is slightly random, but that's what I have. I've noticed that in my inventory bags, I've got some gear that's part of a set. I'm currently running at level, I think, 54, 55. This stuff is level, I think, 50 or 52. And because it's under level, I thought, okay, well, I'll just sell it and get rid of it. But it doesn't show up as available to sell. And I was wondering, is it because it's part of a set and it's like, oh, if you get the set, then you'll regret that you sold it or something like that? Or is it because it's better than what I have equipped and I just don't realize it?
Is it the Fem armor?
I'm sorry, the what?
The Fem armor from Angmar?
No.
Yeah, there is a tendency is that there are a lot of sets in the game that cannot be vendored, and the reason for this had to do with a tendency of people breaking into hacking accounts and selling set armor because they used to be worth the most gold and the like in time. And so as a result, people go in, trash the account, sell their set armor. So therefore, it was changed so that set armor cannot be sold. And I think it also was that very often set armor is the most valuable armor at your level. So they wanted to make it so you couldn't accidentally sell it also. But those were the two biggest reasons I remember coming up on why they decided to put set armor so that it could not be sold.
Okay, so should I just destroy it then?
Yeah, that's pretty much what you gotta do, is you gotta destroy it when you're sure that you no longer need it. It's probably the stuff like the survivor's gear and stuff like that from when you enter into Moria.
I think so. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think so.
Anyone else have any other experiences concerning set armor that...
I know the Fem armor you can't sell.
Yeah, the Fem armor is very definitely...
Well, a lot of those set armors you can't.
Right, and it had to do with... Especially ones that were near caps and stuff like that at some point, because at some point, that's the stuff that people were hacking into accounts so that they could vendor everything, transfer the gold to another account, and leave you with nothing or something like this. So one of the solutions they had to it was to make certain armors no longer sellable, so they couldn't sell your armor at least. But
and I usually notice the Fem one just because my inventory bags will be so full going through Ingmar. I'm like,
Yeah.
I swear, I've tried to sell this. Oh yeah, thumb armor.
Uh-huh.
Occasionally it's
Yeah.
better than what I'm wearing and I'll put it on, but
Hmm.
But yes. So therefore, yeah, it is better when you have the set, but once you start to get better gear at higher levels, I don't think it's going to make enough of a difference to be worth keeping it around. Usually the set armor does stay good longer than most other pieces.
Okay.
If you have all the pieces, that is.
right.
So
Yep.
let's head into our week in LOTRO. And Maven, what were you up to?
Well, among many other things, which we've talked about. Well, actually, we did already talk about, and Terry might, I don't know if Terry's good. I didn't even look to see what Terry said. But we tried out the new 6-man, as everyone now knows, Bull Roar with girls. And it's a sizzler. And I mean that in the literal sense. At least part of it is.
I mean,
We actually did
talked
pretty
about
good.
a little bit, but we didn't
Oh, my
talk about the
goodness.
fact that the second level, the entire floor is on fire.
It's on fire. And the
On
only thing is
fire.
that the only difference is that there's some sections that don't do as much damage as other sections. So, but
But it all does damage.
yeah, but it all does damage. And then there's stuff to kill, so it's crazy. But we had an interesting mix of folks. And of course we were on Bull Roar, so not everybody was geared up, sufficiently. But like we talked about earlier, it was still tough. I mean, like we said, the 105 should not have had shadow damage, to contend with. We were running it at 105.
Well, yeah, that bottom floor, we spent most of our time rezzing the 105s and healing them up, trying to get
one
them
of the
across the
105,
floor.
poor Valori just kept dying. She'd get res and then take a step and die again. Yeah, it was just terrible. So it was a toughie, and we didn't finish the whole thing, but we did get through the first boss room, right? That was an interesting one. Upstairs, that was almost like an arena, and
Yeah.
Terry did an awesome job. But the other thing was, I was her healer, and one of the other problems is, and hopefully they're going to fix this, is what do we call it? Like the boss, they had a wall, right? Like
Oh
an
yeah, it was like
wall.
the NPCs were walls.
Were walls, so I couldn't
See through
target
them.
her to heal her while she was fighting. I mean, there would be like 3 mobs on her, and I had her selected, but it kept telling me she wasn't in line of sight, which I wanted to throw my computer across the room. It was really frustrating. It's terrible when you're the you're watching your target's health go down and you can't do anything. It was like, ugh. So I kept running around trying to find, but hopefully that'll get fixed, because that's just not right. But all in all, we did pretty good. I mean, we're going into it cold with an array of stuff, and it's Bull Roar, so hopefully they'll get some of this stuff fixed. We probably should have written them a letter afterwards. I mean, I
Probably.
just I'm just saying, but.
It was
As a
mainly
We'll just tell them, listen to the to this episode and go watch the girls' video from last Sunday.
yeah. Well, it was extremely disorienting that the mobs were like walls, because my camera angle kept switching.
That's
'Cause you know
right.
how it shifts around if you're behind a wall. It tries to get really close in on you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was I was literally dizzy afterwards.
Yeah, it kept zooming in. Yeah, it was not good. So hopefully they get that fixed. But in other news, I ran the deeping wall in a raid at level cap with Ploy, the raiding kin, and I really rode on their coattails. I mean, they hadn't done it for a while, but they still knew what they were doing. I mean, it was kind of like muscle memory, because at one point in time they ran this consistently week after week after week. So I basically was pretty much ballast. I mean, I spent my time basically setting traps and filling up the rock thingy, just sort of riding along. But it was interesting. It was interesting to do it as a 6-man. It was the first time I'd done Deeping Man. And then we also run Thorag and Drakewing right after that, also in raid. And it was my first time running either one at level cap or on level in a raid. So those were fun to do. And then Maven, we already talked. I knew we were going to talk about, but I was really thrilled that Maven got her. Like I've said about 6 times already, that it's my favorite book. I mean, it's my favorite book, period. So anyway, that was me. Arendis. How about
Yes. I did not have as nearly as exciting of a week as you guys. I mostly just did more questing in Moria. Lots of vermin. Lots and lots and lots of vermin. But it was fun. I'm enjoying it as much as you can, you know? Terry, what did you do this week?
Well, in addition to getting really dizzy in that instance in Bull Roar, which I can now, I've said before that I've had the worst time ever in an instance in Bull Roar. This is the new one. That's literally like the worst instance I've ever done. I was okay until, I was super dizzy after the arena fight, which bugged out on us the first time so that we had to go back and do it again. I was okay until we got to the lower floor where everything was on fire. And I was like, I am so done. Maven just remembered something she wants to highlight. So I'm going to let Maven go back and do her other highlight.
Oh, I didn't mean. But I'll do it real quick. Well, there's no one to highlight. Way that the game. I was Glordriel, the hunter, was doing dailies, and there's several of these areas, but there's an area in Dora, Fusham Tome. You guys might have run into it. It's 115 area, and it is, as is the truth with most dailies around around Middle Earth, full of mobs. And you got to go in and there's like collection quests, and you got to clean out a whole campsite full of things of high level to get to these things. Anyhow, so I'm running around there, and it was kind of fun. This actually happened to me more than once, but in this case it was especially special. So I'm fighting this one guy, and all of a sudden I get what looks like "Do not fall this day" on me. I light up and I go all white. So there's this runekeeper behind me, right? And a dwarf runekeeper, awesome. So we fellowed up, and he'd actually already done the quest he came in to do, but he stuck with me the whole entire time for me to finish all the quests that I had to do in there. So I want to give a shout out to Balza Kimley, because to me that's the spirit of LOTRO. That's just part of what people do in LOTRO, and it was just really nice of him to do that, and he can count on me to pay it forward. But I just wanted to highlight that because one of my favorite parts about this game is just camaraderie and how people have. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, so as we already talked about, I finished Dora Marth on Land of Alteri, yay! Who is nearly to level 115. So I'm almost at level cap, you guys. It's only been, 2 months since it came out? I'm almost at level cap. And then Sarissa got dusted off this week because Treasure Hunt is active. I love the Treasure Hunt. I hate most of the people doing the Treasure Hunt, but I love the Treasure Hunt. So yeah, I did some of the Treasure Hunt questing. Still don't have the Treasure Laden Steed. But she rides around on the goat, since she does have the Treasure Laden goat. And Warden Malethriel did just enough Dunland questing to meet Rook, who is he's like my second favorite NPC in LOTRO. So, Sanswinda, what were you up to?
Well, I finished Dora Marth completely on Sanswinda and almost finished on Clonrian, who is now 114. So, I'm pretty excited about that. Especially since I tried skirmishing with her to level her, and that went horribly. Maybe she needs a new skirmish soldier. Anyway, that was pretty cool to get that done this week. And introduced my sister to the Isengard Tavern on Bull Roar, and the new 6-person entrance with the girls, and the treasure hunt quests. And that was a lot of fun, in part because the Isengard Tavern is just awesome. And her first question was, does this exist on the live servers? I said, no.
No, sadly.
And I should warn you, anything you do here is not going to transfer.
Nice?
It would be kind of nice.
But it's fun because you get,
it's really fun to be able to do on Bull Roar, too. Make Bull Roar special. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And, yeah, and then I showed her the treasure hunt quests. And, that was fun because I had been about to fall asleep, and she's like, hey, what's this treasure hunt thing about? I was like, oh, well, here, I'll tell you about it. And then she was doing it, she's like, oh, this is a lot of fun. And I was like, yeah, it can be, especially when the server's pretty quiet. So, that was cool. And my baby champion, who's not exactly a baby anymore, finished book 2 of Epic Volume 1. And
nice.
Arendis and Terry would probably either have been cringing or laughing if they could have seen it. I did survive the instance with Radagast at level 26 when I went in, but it took forever, and several times it almost ended as poorly as trying to kill Whites and Gottman ended earlier in the book. Or in the, book. So, and trying to kill Whites and Gottman, in case you don't know how that ended, it ended with visiting the Red Circle. On almost every Gottman man that I tried to kill, and on every couple of Whites. So that did not go so well. It was only an orange level quest, too. Right, that should have made it easy. My weird logic. But yeah, I felt quite accomplished, because I think that's only the second time I've even attempted doing the epic that far on level, so. Yeah, Pineleaf, how was your week?
All right, we will begin with the field trip on Arkenstone, where we had an episode of 3 tanks and no healer.
Sounds like the beginning of a really bad, Middle Earth joke.
Dear.
Yeah, this was a case where, the 3 that were at the field trip were, Mortumbra, Cinders, and me. So the 3 of us there. Cinders was playing her warden. I was playing a low-level warden. And Mortumbra was playing a guardian. So therefore, we pinkish-type characters. And we decided to go through the epic story section that starts in... So starting where book 1 is what we were working on. That's where we start with Aragorn and talk to all that. Now, I happen to have done chapter 1 on that character, so I started out at the reflecting pool, so we all participated in there and got all the way through. And we got to the point where we were about to be sent to Tom Bombadil, but while we were there and working on that, we also took care of some boars and bears and all that fun stuff, and some brigands along the way. Boars, bears, and brigands, all those nasty things with bees in their name.
Boars and bears and brigands, oh my.
Yes.
I was hoping I was not the only person who thought that. Thank you, Terry, for saying.
You're welcome.
And also, I cleared out some misguided dwarves and Dor Angrath 3 times this week, because I did it on my main warden, on Crick Hollow, because I never had a chance to actually finish that particular section on that character. So I finished on there. Then I did it on Thursday with Terry Adwin and Sans. And then we did it again with Sanswinda and Cinders on earlier today. And then on Gladden, my minstrel ran the book 1 finale at level 19, because someone had told me that the minstrel can survive that instance at level 19. And because I have always been afraid to do that when 19, because I would always get killed on the matter. By the way, Corey Olsen's thing is getting gold on the Deeping Coombe.
Oh my goodness!
Ooh.
Oh, he duoed it with someone. He actually took your advice and duoed it.
Yeah, he duoed with who's knows these really well.
Ah, so that's how come. Yeah, he sounds pretty. Boy, he managed to get through them now. Okay.
Otherwise, I think he'd still be doing Helm's Dyke.
Yes. Yeah, my real highlight is watching Corey and seeing how he's doing on his first.
Yeah,
fight.
just for those of you, for posterity's sake, this is the day that Corey has done a webathon with his Guardian Wiggin, and it's the very, very, very first time at level 91 that he's done epic battles. Never done them before. So went into Helm's Dyke not even knowing what to expect. So it's been quite entertaining.
Yeah. We currently have 22 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious array of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. This week, we received two emails. The first one is from Falkbridge and Ariandis. Would you like to read that?
Sure, give me 1 sec. Let me scroll down. There we go. Folkbridge writes, "Thank you for your thorough discussion on virtues. You were exactly right. I was mistaken when I thought that being grayed out indicated that it was not accessible, despite the fact that this is pretty much a universal convention in computers. Parentheses, yes, that is sarcasm. My belief was reinforced by the fact that to slot a colored virtue, you can right-click it, but if you right-click a grayed-out virtue, you open up the LOTRO store, making me think that I could only purchase the grayed-out virtues. I will now embark upon the task of going through all my alts and slotting the most appropriate virtues, not just the ones that randomly happen to be colored at that time. I wonder if I am alone in this spurious belief, or if there are many more players missing out on various virtuous validity." Say that 5 times fast.
Thank you for that.
Thank you again, and keep up the good work, from Falkbridge from the Blue Mountains. So, in case any of the people listening don't know what he's talking about, a couple weeks ago, I believe, he sent in an email asking about the virtues and things like that, and we were able to answer it, and he kind of recapped it in his email. So if you guys ever have questions for us, feel free to send us an email, and we'll do our best to answer or point you to someone who can answer if we don't know.
And Falkbridge, that was
You cut out, Maven. You said that was, and then you cut out.
awesome alliteration.
Yes. Yes. Extra points for the alliteration. And our second letter is from Farrellier and Sans. Would you like to read that?
Sure. Farrellier writes, "Hello, LOTRO players. I hope you're enjoying the endless, closely packed mobs you get to fight your way through over and over in order to unlock Allegiance dailies, as much as I am not. Now that I've unlocked those dailies, I was hoping you could answer a question for me. What's the most time-efficient way to earn those scrolls of empowerment and starlight crystals we need to power up our imbued weapons? I've been running back to Dol Amroth for the dailies there. Do you have better recommendations? My other question is about Pineleaf's excellent skirmish guides. I remember referring to them back when earning the Skirmisher of Skirmisher title, and wanted to look up something in them. I found links to them on your site, but they seem to be broken, at least the Attack at Dawn one. Any other place I can find them? Keep on defeating those orcs, and see you in the 4th Age. Farrellier, who's always bringing it on Landerval."
People sending us emails are very sassy today.
They are sassy.
Yeah. Now, concerning the one about the skirmish guides, unfortunately, the links got broken when we were having some site problems, and in order to recover everything, the host decided to delete about half of our files,
Ugh.
including half of the skirmish guides.
Oh, Pineleaf.
So, therefore, there are a number of them that are currently not available for that reason. I planning on getting a new edition out because the areas that I was waiting for Mordor to come out and before actually doing the next edition of them. So that's why they haven't come out yet. But now with Mordor out, I should be able to finally get some time in order to get them together now that I've got a character at cap and stuff like that. So hopefully I can get new ones for the early ones because it's the early ones I believe that are missing. I think the epic ones are still available. But now what about the question that we have on the Starlight Crystals and Scrolls of Empowerment?
Scrolls of Empowerment are pretty easy to get from the Minas Tirith dailies. You can get quite a few for not very many of the tokens. Or one for not very
I've said
many
this
of the
before,
tokens.
but I think that's like the best exchange rate. I just got some with Stars of Merit from Epic Battles, and it cost 90 Stars of Merit for one scroll. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's like an entire battle. But with Minas Tirith dailies, I mean, you need to get the rep, but those are really the best because the exchange rate to get, I think you can get, forget what, 7, I think it is, if you're starting from scratch, I think.
I think something like that, and you'll have a little bit of extra tokens, because I don't think it transfers quite evenly. And you'll end up with 3 different types of tokens if you're doing the Minas Tirith dailies, and you've got to convert them all over to the type you need. But it's a 1-to-1 conversion rate, so you're not going to lose tokens in the conversion. So it works out pretty nicely for Scrolls of Empowerment.
Then I think for Starlit Crystals, it's grinding the festival, especially Ale Association.
That would make sense. I still need a ton of Starlit Crystals, so I guess I'll be festivaling this winter.
So, like, the Fall Festival, it takes 90 fall tokens for 1 crystal. And so between the festival quests and the Ale Association, I mean, you can, if you're diligently grinding, you should be able to get quite a number.
And those crystals that you get at the festival are bound to character, though, aren't they?
Right.
So, like, if you run lower-level alts through the festival to get those, it's not going to actually do your higher-level alt any good.
It's got to be the alt you want to be using it on. Yeah. Hopefully that helped.
All right. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast at dd@lotroplayers.com.
Wrong podcast, by the way.
You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, Lotro Players at Lotro Players, Ariandis at Ariandis, and Maven at Tolkien Maven, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Senswinda at Senswinda, and Terry Adwin at Terry Adwin. The Players Alliance currently has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News. You can join our live shows at lotroplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.